Welcome back for part 2 of Nerd Notes. Let's get right into Simon Peter. Simon Peter and his brother Andrew were among the first disciples called by Jesus. Jesus invited them to leave their fishing nets and become fishers of men. Jesus gave Simon the name Cephas, which is Aramaic for rock, translated into Greek as Petros. Peter is consistently listed first among the 12 apostles and often acts as their spokesman. He was one of 3 disciples who shared his special relationship with Jesus, witnessing pivotal events such as the Transfiguration. The Gospel of Matthew is the only one to record Peter's walking on water to meet Jesus, only to begin sinking when he took his eyes off the Lord. Early traditions, supported by Paul's writings, suggest that Peter was the first male apostle to see the risen Christ, and also among the first 2 male apostles to witness the empty tomb. The first and second epistles of Peter are traditionally attributed to him, though some scholars question his direct authorship of the second epistle. The early church historian Papias suggests that the Gospel of Mark is based on Peter's eyewitness testimony, recounted by his companion John Mark. Though it is not recorded in the Bible, early Christian tradition holds that Peter was martyred in Rome under Emperor Nero around the year 64 to 68 AD. According to tradition, Peter requested to be crucified upside down because he did not feel worthy to die in the same manner as his Lord. Catholic tradition views Peter as the first pope and claim a direct line of papal succession from Peter. Other traditions, such as Eastern Orthodox, also acknowledge Peter's significant leadership, but do not claim papal succession from him. Peter is believed to be buried on Vatican Hill, where St. Peter's Basilica now stands. Excavations in the 20th century beneath the basilica uncovered a burial site with bones, which Pope Paul VI concluded most likely belonged to St. Peter. Now for Peter's brother Andrew, notable for being the brother of Simon Peter and traditionally considered to be one of the first to be called by Jesus. Before following Jesus, Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist. The Gospel of John recounts how Andrew was present when John the Baptist pointed out Jesus as the Lamb of God. After spending time with Jesus, he immediately recognized him as the Messiah. He then went and grabbed his brother Simon and brought Simon to meet Jesus. During the miraculous feeding of the 5,000, it was Andrew who brought the boy with the 5 barley loaves and the 2 fish to Jesus to perform that miracle. Andrew did express his doubt that it would be enough, though. Lucky for him, Jesus had other things in mind, right? Although he is mentioned less frequently than Peter, James, and John, Andrew was a part of a small group of disciples who privately asked Jesus about the end of times on the Mount of Olives. After Jesus' ascension, tradition holds that Andrew preached the gospel in regions around the Black Sea, including what is now modern-day Greece, Ukraine, and Russia. Tradition attributes Andrew with founding the first Christian community in Constantinople. According to legend, Andrew was crucified on an X-shaped cross in Greece around the year 60 AD. He felt unworthy to die on the same type of cross as Jesus. Thus, the X-shaped cross became his iconic symbol known as the St. Andrew's Cross. In part 1, in the pre-show notes, I promised you more information about what a Roman praetor is, so let's get right into what a Roman praetor was. A Roman praetor was a senior magistrate whose duties evolved significantly over time from the Roman Republic to the Empire. A praetor held legal power which gave them the authority to command armies, preside in courts, and administer the law. A praetor's primary role was judicial and ministering civil law. Their duties involved setting precedences, presiding over cases, and differentiation of duties. Beyond the courts, a praetor's legal power gave them substantial executive authority. Their responsibilities could include acting in the council's absence, commanding armies, or organizing public games. If you remember in the episode, Shmuel makes a comment to Yusuf about fixing his talid. I'm about to tell you what that is. Talid is a fringed Jewish prayer shawl worn during morning services and on other sacred occasions. The garment is central to Jewish prayer and tradition because of the special knotted fringes. The biblical basis for the talid comes from the Torah, specifically in the book of Numbers, where God commands the Israelites to place fringes on the corner of their garments as a reminder of all his commandments. A little background on tax collectors back in those days, Jewish tax collectors to be specific. Jewish tax collectors were offered the position by Rome. In modern day terms, they would have been like an independent contractor. They would collect tax imports, exports, bridge tolls, road money, town dues, and many more other things. Tax collectors would skim money off the top to keep for themselves, as long as what was owed to Rome was fulfilled. They would use very unethical methods to collect the taxes, such as placing inflated and fictitious value on the property or income in order to get a higher tax percentage of that tax. Within their own society, Jewish tax collectors were among the most hated and reviled individuals. They collaborated with the enemy. They were viewed as unclean and immoral. They were socially ostracized and targets of the zealots, meaning the zealots wanted to kill them. Now for a little background on the Pharisees. They were a popular, influential Jewish social and religious movement in the Second Temple. They emphasized piety and widespread adherence to the law. Although they are often seen through the critical lens of the New Testament, historical sources reveal a more complex picture of their beliefs and their foundational role in modern rabbinic Judaism. The Pharisees emerged around 150 BC following the Maccabean Revolt. Unlike the aristocratic priestly Sadducees who controlled the temple in Jerusalem, the Pharisees came mostly from the middle class of merchants and artisans and had significant influence with the common people. The Pharisees believed that both the written Torah and oral tradition were authoritative. The Sadducees, by contrast, only accepted the written Torah. But unlike the Sadducees, the Pharisees believed in the immortality of the soul, the resurrection of the dead, and angels and demons. These theological elements distinguish them from other contemporary Jewish sects. Thanks for hanging out with me for Nerd Notes. I'm going to get into my post-show notes in part 3. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like what you see. God bless you.